There's a lot of people that come to me asking about my mermaid experience and if I ever had one. I, in fact, had two mermaid experiences. I had one when I was about 6 or 7, and another one in my early 20s. So, this is part two of my mermaid encounter. So, I'm just gonna cut to the chase. Now, this encounter happened when I was like 20 or 21, and it happened in a dream. What makes this dream so vivid is that I have a mark on my wrist.
What really made me believe this guy is how detailed he was with everything. Like, he left nothing out. He mentioned to me how before he threw the mermaid back in the ocean, she had a necklace, which is what the necklace that he handed to me when I first saw him.
Welcome back to part 3. So let's go into part 3. So I've already done part 1 and part 2. If you don't know what I'm talking about, please go and watch these videos first, because it really will fill you in. And then you can join us now for part 3. So this is part 3. Welcome. Hello, everybody, to my channel. I am Rosie. I am your resident bridge walker, threshold guardian, and bridge and decoder. I like to decode the language of the matrix. I'm talking archetypes. I'm talking symbolism. And I'm talking finding magic in the mundane, because trust and believe, it is all happening. Okay, so let's just dive in, man. I haven't got time for the introductions. You can see the other ones over there. So this is where the story gets a bit cray. All right, so before we start, I'm going to do a quick recap of the first 2 videos of what happened. But what I would like you to do now, all right, is get real grounded in what we mean by multidimensionality. All right, so before we go swimming in the deep end, I want everybody to be on the same page as of that, because people throw the word around multidimensionality. You know, they're throwing it all around. It's like cosmic seasoning. We're multidimensional and beings, but what does that mean? What does it really mean outside of just lip service? I like to make things so simple. There's no need to jazz it up if it's not necessary, okay? So the easiest way to explain it, so multidimensionality at its core is being able to hold more than one perspective at the same time. So usually, you know how it is where you're like, oh no, but this happened, right? And then you're arguing with somebody, this happened, and people want to say, well, no, this happened because this is what happened. I'm right, you're right, all right. It's being able to be like, okay, this is what I believe happened, but I can believe yours happened as well. It might not have, but you know, that's a really cheap example. But being able to hold more than one perspective at the same time, that translates into having the ability to hold more than one truth, which also translates into being able to hold more than one reality in the same way. All right, so you're able to hold the potential, the idea that there are multiple truths, multiple perspectives, aka there can be multiple realities happening at the exact same time. All right, forget about your clock and your watch and your linear time. It can be happening. That's all you need to do. You don't even have to fully believe, but you can be willing to suspend that maybe there's multiple things that could be happening at the same time. Two truths can be true at the same time, right? That's the muscle that I want you to be flexing. That's what I would like you to be doing right now, okay? So I really do want you to suspend your usual logic for this video. Just to suspend it. Don't worry if it still feels tangled up or contradictory, or you're just being like, whoa, what's happening? Sit with it. Just sit with it. Sit with the idea that more than one thing can be true at once. You can both love your boyfriend and hate his guts at the same time, okay? You can both know that your sibling can be an absolute dickhead, but you would still bat for them at the same time. You can hold multiple truths at once. We can do it. We can say one nice thing and then we can be thinking cussed out thoughts in our heads at the same time. If you can imagine that you might be the dreamer, but you also might be the mermaid, as well as the fisherman and the witness all at once, then you're ready for this ride, if you can take that in your head. I'm not saying that's what happened, but let's go.
Have you noticed when celebrities build their homes, it's in front of a beach or it's near a trench that's near the beach? I'm here to tell you now, it's not because of the view. Before I begin, TikTok keeps taking down my video every single time I upload it, every single time. So this video is for entertainment reasons only. Entertainment. Moving along, there is a black market delicacy that no one is telling you about. And that delicacy is mermaid meat. It makes complete sense on why billionaires are submerging themselves deep into the ocean. It makes total sense. Back in 2023, I volunteered at a retirement home. Now, we're not going to get into why I even had to volunteer. But while working at this retirement home, I met a very interesting man. I will never forget him. I was at this retirement home for about 4 months, and during that 4 months, like I said, I met this guy. Every single day I would walk in, the guy would look at me like wide-eyed, stare at me everywhere I go. I started to become highly uncomfortable at the fact that he was staring at me like that, until one day he actually approached me. And when he did, he was so frantic and nervous. After he said hi, he opened his hand like this. And there was a real gold chain in his hand, like it was a very nice gold chain. And I asked him, like, why are you trying to give this to me? And he said, I've saw you before, I know you before, I remember his voice. He's like, how did you find me? And I had to reassure to him that I was new to the area and that I didn't even know him. His response that, I saw you, I pulled you out of the ocean. And while he's telling me this story, the man is in literal tears. Like, I really felt for him. This man would bring me cake, flowers, like food. He would bring me anything. He would gift it to me. He would say, here's a gift. And of course, I couldn't take any of it because I was volunteering. As I sat down and got to know him, he told me that he was a fisherman. And he did a lot of fishing in Lake Michigan. He told me he also did a lot of import-export of fish. He told me one night him and his lads were out at sea at night and that they were preparing for a big catch. Now, he mentioned to me that when there's a big catch, no matter what time it is, you have to get ready to prepare for this catch. He told me he was in charge of the light and that after he put his materials on and he got up and got the light, there was a mermaid caught in the net. And he said that mermaid looked just like you. Like, the man was literally in my face. He was like, she looked just like you. And like I said, the guy was crying red. Like, it was so emotional. Stick around for part 2. What really made me believe this guy is how detailed he was with everything. Like, he left nothing out. He mentioned to me how before he threw the mermaid back in the ocean, she had a necklace, which is what the necklace that he handed to me when I first saw him. I asked him, I'm like, what did this mermaid look like? He told me that she literally had my face and her skin was all black, like black as night. And he said her eyes were all blacked out. She had no white parts of her eyes. He mentioned when him and his lads seen that, their minds did not know how to fathom what they were receiving. One guy jumped overboard. Another one was vomiting everywhere. There was another guy like screaming, covering his eyes. He said he was just standing there. As this man is telling me this story, there is tears rolling down his face. There was literally nothing I could do to comfort him. He just kept saying, I thought you were dead, I thought you were dead. Hearing that from somebody that you don't even know is just like very, very scary. Like, your heart just does something. But after they threw her in the ocean, there was years later where he saw her again. And he said before he saw her, he saw a very bright light. But this encounter was at midnight, around the same time him and his lads spotted her the first time. She would visit his dreams and tell him that they were eating her, like her and her family. I asked him, I'm like, well, were they eating them? And he said yes. And I asked him, how did he know this? And he mentioned how he actually delivered a mermaid to an elite person in Chicago. That there were numerous aquatic delicacy places in Chicago. And I thought it was lying. Y'all, he was very honest because I did my research and there are actually several of them in Chicago. And it's disguised to not, gain any attention. Years later, after he got married, had children, he finally sat down with his family and told them about it. And he said his family threw him in that retirement home that I was working in. I asked him, I'm like, why would anyone want to eat a mermaid? He mentioned how it preserves their aging, it gives them futuristic visions, and it heals any impurities in the body.
So you'll see on the screen here before we go that this is the premise that I'm taking for these videos. I am doing this from the perspective that this is true. All right, we're not bothering to debate the whole bloody like, but what if it's true, not true, or it could be just dream? No, that's boring. We already logically know that that's a possibility. I'm coming at it from the what if it is true. That's the basis that we're going from. So part one, the surface story, I'll go all the way back to part one. We've got lovely OP here, lovely glowing OP. Let's set the scene. She is a young woman. Her name is, I'm going to call her OP for the video. All right, that we're decoding. So as a child, she had an encounter at the shore, Mississippi Gulf to be specific. She was alone. She was at the threshold between land and sea. Classic liminal space, and that's where all the shizzle goes down, and that's exactly what happened on the beach, because she sees a glowing, otherworldly, melanated woman in the water with black hair like sea moth. Definitely not your average seaguller, that's for sure. The woman emerges. She was glowing so brightly she couldn't see her face. She comes out, she sashays down the sand, kneels in front of OP, gives her a kiss on the lips. We're not going to get into the whole debate about that was a child and what the fuck's going on, why weren't the police called, because that's not what was happening here. We're going to put that to one side. All right, she does that, and then she gets up, sashays her way back to the shore, back dives into the sea, and she gone in 60 seconds. All right, gone. Years pass, 18 years to be precise, if she was actually being truthful on the years that she gave, which again is another 8 gateway number. All right, we've got the 8 is a gateway, we've got the 1 of new beginnings, 8 and 1 is 9 of endings. This is definitely like a brand new stage of life here. OP is now grown up. She's not little OP anymore. She's hitting the 20s, and she has a dream. It's so vivid that it leaves a mark on her body when she wakes up. She dreams that she's back on the beach, only this time the encounter is not so fun. God, I feel for you because I hate those dreams. This time, she sees a bright light. She hears a hey. A blonde woman appears, butt naked in front of her, blue eyes, inviting her to go for a swim. OP's like, no thanks. But the woman is being sweet. She's like, no, let's go for a swim. She's like, no. She doesn't even get to turn away before the woman is like, we're going for a swim. She grabs her left wrist, drags her with supernatural strength to the shoreline, into the depths of the ocean. She can breathe, y'all, but she is being choked and she is fighting for her life. Literally. At the last moment, there's a blinding light, and the grip breaks because it puts her hand in front of her eyes, and Opie wakes up, not in her bed, but in another room, physically vomiting up strange water and losing her fucking shit. As you would. She believes that was the OP, that was another mermaid. She said that she felt it was another mermaid who may have seen the encounter from the first one and wanted to take her out. Could be. I don't think that's what was going on though. So now, here we are, part 3. Fisherman enters the chat. An elderly man OP meets while working at a care home in 2023. That's the number 7. Adds up to number 7. That's spiritual truth. Some things are coming up. Okay. He's haunted by her. Literally. How did you find me? He says to her. Right, okay. He tells her about his past years ago, fishing on Lake Michigan. And by the way, why? I've said this before. There's always crazy stories that come out of there. It's either the land. We know the water is a good conduit for spirit, but in that area it's crazy. But anyway, Lake Michigan. Okay. And his crew, they caught a mermaid in the net, according to him. Not just any mermaid. One with skin black like the night sky, black eyes, and wearing a gold necklace, apparently. Actually looks a bit Temu-like, but it's still cute. So the fisherman is overcome. Somehow he gets a necklace. They release her into the water. And then he claims that he ended up seeing her again a few days later around midnight, always accompanied by, midnight. I don't know if it was with the light though. And he says that she comes to him in his dreams telling him that they're eating her and they're eating her family. So he believes OP is that mermaid because he said she's got your face. And he believes she's returned. And now their timelines are knotted together. Okay? But what is going on? So this is where we have to step outside the lines of ordinary reality and into the quantum, because that's the only way that we can actually decipher this situation and talk about it. So it seems, okay, that she is both the dreamer and the mermaid. All right? She's living a double timeline. Okay, so her current self, that's the dream version, is the witness. She's on the beach, but her soul memory is the mermaid. So in quantum logic, you can be both at once. That's what I think is going on. So this is a living feedback loop, all right? So the fisherman's memory of the mermaid is kind of like, it's haunting, isn't it? Like, and of what he did. It's like an echo. So she shows up as herself in his memory and as the dreamer in her own. So just like quantum physics, where the observer and the observed are entangled, okay, so the story itself feels like a bit of a Black Mirror episode, to be fair, but the story itself is a mirror. So the mermaid and the witness are two sides of the same soul strand, same thing. And you're like, but how can that be a past life when she's here? Well, when people think of past lives, they keep thinking of past lives, they're thinking of past lives in a linear time frame. Like, well, this had to happen at this time because you can't be born in 1974 because the person didn't die until 1978, so that makes no sense. Yeah, get the linear time frame out of your head. We're in no time. Yeah, the rules are, there are no rules. Okay, well, at least with time anyway. So that's what I think that is. So what's interesting to me is I did one video on this channel. The last videos that I ever did on this channel, actually, that was quite popular. It was a spiritual reparations video where I was listening to lots of encounters of women or people that were working in nursing homes, and they witnessed white old people that were literally, some crazy shit was going on as they were heading to the end, and they started to see things, and sometimes there would be people in their room that they recognized, and it would be somebody that they had murdered during the racist times in America, Jim Crow lower times, or things they've done of that nature. And it was spooky and quite upsetting for many people as well, myself included. But I made it because their stories had impacts on me. And that's why I did that. So when I heard this story, it instantly gave me the same vibes. Initially, I was like, I mean, I don't know, she could still be lying. She could have been lying. But initially, I was like, wow, why does this sound like the spiritual reparation stories that I was doing? Like, everything. Down to the looking at somebody scared and shocked, like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to do that, kind of almost wanting to get, it's almost like trying to atone their sins before they hit the sack, before they kick the bucket and they die, which can leave people feeling really odd. It's like, you want to make peace before you get to the other side so that you don't go to hell. I mean, if that's what most people believe, they're, so it's like, it's almost like, is this real? Are you saying sorry because you mean it, or is it because you just don't want to go to the hot place? If that's what you believe. So it does bring up a lot of feelings in different people, but that's what it felt like to me when she was telling the story, especially in the care home. So the fisherman's, the fear and the repeated encounters of like, oh, how did you find me? It echoes those stories that I remember reading of the dying colonizers that were, or the people that were doing that were being haunted by black ancestors or spirits, as they were saying, as they were wronged. It was like a psychic reckoning, like spiritual reparations. So the fact that he kept on gifting her as well sort of speaks to the sort of like it could be that he was, trying to rebalance the scales, no pun intended, trying to provide something, some conscious reparations. But at the same time, the interesting thing with that is that it also is in Mer law, particularly like in the, you see in the African and the Caribbean traditions, the ones where you have like, water priestesses that serve the water deities, like La Sirène in Haiti, or in the Yoruba they've got, I think you say Mami Wata, or Oshun or Yeme or whatever, you give gifts, you give offerings. So it kind of felt like that, because he was giving us stuff. So in this double layered way, that's why I say there's usually more than one meaning. It's kind of almost confirming that this girl is sort of water coded, because he was offering her gifts. Now, it's not to say she's a deity. That's the synchronicity that you start to see in life when you start to get resonant with something, all right? When you start to realize, like when I started to really see the water codes for myself, a lot was happening. Even physical things were happening that I would never have connected to it, but when I saw it and realized, I'm like, wow, like, okay, so it's not just, how can I put it? It's not just when you start experiencing these things, it's not all going to look like some kind of like step by step, The Craft, or, some sort of movie. It's not all, it's the mundane things that you might not even connect to. It starts to happen. You need to read the code. But so it's interesting that he's doing that, because I think it's sort of confirming that for her. Well, it would be in my eyes. So it seems that she is, air quotes, alive in the now, as we saw in the dream, or not, well, as we saw as she's working there, but she's also in then. So she's alive in the now and the then. So in his timeline, he threw the mermaid back, but the trauma is not resolved. I would have liked to know whether the person actually died though, because I don't think they said that, but it doesn't make, I don't know. But the trauma loop didn't get resolved, so the loop has stayed open. So she's alive in the now, as we see, it's a living process, but the air quotes death, or the air quotes trauma, is still echoing through the soul line. It's seeking healing. And that's why in the last video, you'd have heard me talking about, when people are thinking about, for instance, all the magical and all things about all mermaids or aquatics, and you're thinking very much in the, almost as in like you're thinking, okay, outside of the reality, almost forgetting not everyone, but that all the small mundane things that you're experiencing or that you have experienced in life is completely connected to that. You are one soul. There's a soul. It's all connected. So that's why I was tying the two things of like the possibilities of her working through lineage and the generational trauma, things like to do connected to slavery and identity and colour. That could all be a part of what is still going on in their internal landscape, and it doesn't make it any less magical. Or it's not like, oh, why are you talking about race when it's about mermaids and aquatics? We don't live on an island, all right? Everything is connected in its own way. So that's what I mean by the death and the trauma can still echo through the soul line seeking healing. So maybe the fisherman's guilt or trauma keeps her soul in the in-between. It's keeping like a feedback loop open, almost like an imprint, a haunting that you see when there's a lot of energy somewhere and the ghost is looping, or the spirit's looping. So the dream for her, and this is why I do believe, I mean, most people are, but she's definitely a walker between the worlds. Most people can be, a lot of spiritually people that are coming into awakenings. That is essentially what we are doing, or what you are doing. So being a bridge in that way, it can mean many things for many different people. When you're kind of waking up and you're kind of awakening, you're sensing that the world is a little bit more than the world than you initially thought, and you're sort of linking your current life to other things and to expanded consciousnesses, and you're linking it to the things that you've experienced. So there's like bridging that needs to be done. It's almost like, imagine the whole soul is like shattered. That's what it feels like here. You're trying to reclaim all of these fragments, bringing it back so you can feel like this whole person who remembers who you are, right? So in dreams, that's like psychic, it's like technology. Like dreams are not like, oh, we're in dreaming now, we're just sorting out our thoughts. That's another reality, okay? It's not a case of the waking reality is the real one, and that's just the dreamland. No. It's just as real. So that's almost like the dream is the tech for her to retrieve these lost fragments. This is like almost like journeying. It's what you might call shamanic journeying. People can do it for themselves in ways sometimes you realise you're not, you know, you're doing it and you don't realise. So you're sort of reclaiming that lost fragment of self. Or for both of them to close the circuit, you know. I even think when I saw the fisherman, the first thing that came into my mind is the biblical, the Bible passage, and I'm not even Christian, but symbolically, I will make you fish, when Jesus said, I will make you fishers of men. It's like, what? You're going to be fishing men? But we know that what was said to be meant was that, you know, spread the word, okay? And I interpret that myself as the expansion of Christ consciousness. And with that is the ability to know thyself, your I am, and to see where you fit in this holographic, as I like to, reality, and how you are co-creator in that reality, okay? Also, in the same way, I remember thinking when I was thinking of a way to frame how manifesting, I remember the first thing that came into my mind was like being in a fishing boat and you throw your line out and they're all of the things around you swirling the words of your desires or what you'd want. They're all right there in your reality, but you need to hook one and you're trying to reel it in, and the one you focus on is, like, you know, as they say, the one that you're creating it. So if you let it off the line, it goes back into all that is. It doesn't disappear. It just isn't. It's not the thing that you focus on to collapse the time, or, you know, to bring your desired reality closer to you. And for some reason my mind saw that in a fishing boat. So I see the symbolism of that as like, this guy really was, it's talking about, to me, timelines and reality, all right, and Christ consciousness being the consciousness that we experience. That's just my own little sideline there. You don't have to be, you might be like, what? But that's just the way I saw it. So you have to fully invest now in air quotes dream logic, myth logic. So linear logic won't get you there because it'll be very confusing right now. Okay, so this is what I meant by this is the quantum. So multiple things are happening here at the same time. All right, there's quantum soul and there's myth logic. So in dream time, aka like the dream space and all that kind of stuff, and spirit work and stuff, you totally 1,000,000% can be both the rescue and the one who needs rescuing. You can be multiple things in that time. All right, you can be the hunter and the hunted, the initiator and the initiated. So OP finds herself as herself on the beach, but she's also clearly the mermaid. And what is so crazy is that with this story, and if this is the reality, is because that light that seemed to be just coming from nowhere, was it this fisherman? You know? That's when I was like, well, I can see that. By her comments as well, she said, allegedly, she was like, I never made that connection. She looked quite shocked by that when somebody made that connection for her. So I was like, this is juicy. That's why when I saw that bit, I was like, oh, hell no, I have to have this in the video. This has to go in. Now you know what I mean when I was like, it was a different story until I saw this third part. When I heard this story, I was like, And you might think, why am I not touching on the whole delicacy mermaid thing? I mean, that's because that's not what this video is about. That's something entirely on its own. I don't know. How do I feel about that? I don't know. I don't know. I'm not saying it's not, but sometimes I just don't bother to go down the rabbit hole of specific things because it doesn't appeal to me at the time. And also, there's a part of me as well that's like, I'm aware how keen it is. I feel like it's good to be knowledgeable and to be aware of these things, but also sometimes it can do the reverse. When you start to go, oh my god, this is going on, it can actually give it more power in the sense of the emperor's new clothes. If nobody's saying like, dude, that man's naked, everybody's acting like, oh my god, it's amazing. So if we can also pull things into focus, even if we don't want to. So I'm not saying, oh, ignore it. I'm just saying that I'm aware that if that was happening, by focusing on the lack and not being able to do anything about it is further solidifying that it's happening. So I'm just saying at this point, I'm like, I haven't focused on thinking about it much for good reason, but it doesn't mean that I'm not thinking about it at all. But anyway, it's getting off the point. But it kind of flips everything when you bring that into the equation, doesn't it? It makes it really interesting. So why this is a modern myth, all right? So this story of man is doing the work. It's doing for both her personal and the collective. So for her, it's about like her spiritual identity, accepting the call. I still think there's an initiation going on here, healing ancestral stuff, integrating her shadow, and there does seem to be some part like it's definitely showing some of her coding, all right, outside of who she is now. And for that dude, it could be he's confronting his past self, the things he's done, confronting harm, the cost of denial, and I guess forgiveness, searching for forgiveness and release, So what does it come down to? So my multi-dimensional take is that many things are going on here. She's the girl on the beach. She's the witness, the one marked by what feels to me like initiation or just her lineage, part of a fragment self-stepping forward. So she's the air quotes mermaid pulled from the water. Both victim and avatar, right? She's the dreamer, dragged beneath the waves, struggling to escape, facing a force that's going like, you can't run from what you are or what's going on here. Even the fisherman is part of her code in that way. He's a symbol of the old stories, of the old debts, the way the past always tries to surface. No pun intended, pun intended. So if you're listening to this thinking, wait, this makes no sense, maybe that's true. Neither did Inception. In a multidimensional reality, you're always more than one thing at once. And the same event can be an initiation, it could be a haunting, it could be a slap in the face, it could be a karmic return, it could be a timeline split, there could be some editing, there could be some retrieval, some healing. It's all going on at once. So if you take away anything from this, I want it to be multidimensionality. And don't rush to label strange stories as literal nonsense. Don't dismiss your dreams or your scars. All the way the past can come knocking at the door in unexpected ways. Don't do that. You don't have to over obsess, but note it down, all right? Maybe you're not just the witness to your own story. You could be doing many things. Maybe you're every role. Maybe you've got some roles that you're playing out that you're not aware of and what all things are going on. So to me, I am using this pun on purpose. This is the undercurrent beneath the myth, all right? It's the cord. This is what is popped under that hood of that reality, all right? So let's decode your own life and see what emerges. Guys, thank you for watching this video. Man, that was fun. I really enjoyed that story, I'm not going to lie. Let me know what you think down below. Don't forget to leave your comments. Try to be nice. Not be nasty, but please leave your comments. I'll be really interested to hear what you guys made of the video. If there's anything that you saw that I didn't see, I would love to know. Until next time, keep swimming. Bye.